Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching Steady IQ IS English. In our today's video, we'll cover a very interesting topic, that is India's new hypersonic missile. And we'll also try to understand how it is a game changer for India. Now, the notes which I will be using in our today's session, in case if you want to download them, you can go to a particular Telegram channel called as ATS Live. And while you're at it, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel also. Now, I don't know about you, but how many of you actually saw the Republic Day parade, which happened yesterday on Rajpath? Now, you'll be surprised to know one of the most important display at the Republic Day parade was India's new hypersonic missile. And this hypersonic missile has been developed by none other than the Defense Research and Development Organization. Now, what is this long range anti-ship hypersonic missile? What are different types of technologies used to make hypersonic missile? Everything we are going to cover in our today's video. Let us first start by understanding what is this long-range anti-ship hypersonic missile. Now, this basically uses the technology of hypersonic glide vehicle, which is designed primarily for Indian Navy. Now, I need to understand Indian Navy's coastal priority is to ensure security of India's coastline. And in order to do that, one of these hypersonic glide missiles will become very important. Because first of all, this missile can be used to neutralize enemy warships at long range. It can hit targets as far as 1500 kilometers from India's coastline, and you'll be surprised to know that the future variants which are currently under development can hit targets as far as 3500 kilometers from India's coastline. Now, this particular missile can hit both static as well as moving targets. So, all those Chinese missiles who are looking to enter into India, now they have one thing to worry about. That is India's long-range anti-ship hypersonic missile. Now, in this regard, let us understand how this hypersonic glide vehicle or hypersonic glide missile actually works. Now, I need to understand this particular missile, which has been developed by DRDO. It uses a two-stage solid rocket motor. Now, this two-stage solid rocket motor, its original intention is to provide the initial thrust so as to push this missile into a hypersonic territory. Now, the speed of sound is called as Mach 1. So, beyond the speed of sound, any vehicle, if it travels in the air beyond the speed of sound, it is called as a supersonic vehicle. But if any vehicle travels for more than Mach 5 the speed, that trajectory is called as a hypersonic trajectory. So, any hypersonic speed would be speeds more than Mach 5, that is more than 5 times the speed of sound. Now, the two-stage solid rocket motor that I was talking about, it provides the initial boost to the missile, providing it the required thrust necessary to move from subsonic to supersonic and ultimately to hypersonic speed. So, after the first stage is completed with its burnout, it detaches itself and the second stage of this missile begins, which takes a quasi-ballistic flight trajectory. Now, I need to understand any ballistic missile is a missile which travels above the Earth's atmosphere. So, any missile would be a quasi-ballistic missile if it travels in the upper atmosphere but inside the Earth's atmosphere, right? And in the second stage, when it is powered by the second stage of solid rocket fuel, it gives the missile the ability to flight at a lower altitude and have the ability to make mid-course changes in its trajectory. That is called as mid-course maneuvering. So this is what actively provides this missile the edge over and above the existing ballistic missile, which takes a more predictable path above the surface of the Earth or above the atmosphere of the Earth. And on the other hand, it provides a more speed to a missile as compared to a traditional cruise missile, which flows at a subsonic or supersonic speed, right? So this is the two stage which powers these missiles. Now, what becomes important is the third stage. After the fuel is burned out, from the first two stages, this missile enters into a stage 3, which is an unpowered stage called as hypersonic glide. Now, whenever any object is flying, it is subjected to two types of forces besides obviously the gravitational forces. First is a drag, which pushes this flying object down, and another force is called as lift, which provides the upward flight to any flying object. Now, to keep any flying object in a flying mode, you need to have the ability where lift is more than the drag. And this is provided through aerodynamics. That is, the design itself of this glide vehicle should be such that the lift provided on this flying object is high as compared to the drag which is trying to push it down. Right. Now, this unpowered atmospheric glide, and because of the initial boost it has gotten from the first two stages, enables this flying vehicle to sustain its hypersonic speed, which is more than 5 Mach the speed. And the ability of this aerodynamics design is such that it gives this flying object the ability to make maneuvers or change this direction. Now, this ability to change the direction inside the Earth's atmosphere is what gives this hypersonic missile the edge and what makes this hypersonic missile very deadly. Now, in this regard, let us understand why this hypersonic missile is a game changer for India. First of all, it gives Indian Navy the much required tactical edge. Now, you need to understand traditional air defense systems or missile defense systems, they are catered to the existing ballistic missiles, which takes a more predictable ballistic arc, and much slower cruise missiles, which can take either a subsonic or a supersonic speed. On the other hand, this hypersonic missile, it travels at a very high speed, much higher than the subsonic and supersonic speeds. So that is why this first of all reduces the reaction time that gives the enemy once you fire the missile. That is why it is able to cover 1500 kilometers in just 15 minutes. On the other hand, as it takes a quasi-ballistic path, it breaks away from the predictability, which is usually the case with the ballistic missile. And therefore, by making changes mid-course, that is making maneuvers mid-course, it is able to exploit radar blind spots, which the traditional missiles, especially the ballistic missiles, they can't. So that is why this hypersonic missiles gives Indian Navy, or in future India's other defense forces like Air Force and Army, the tactical edge. There is another strategic edge that it gives to India. First is that in an ability or in a future conflict, Indian Navy should have the capacity to deny its sovereign space or its territorial waters to enemy aircrafts as well as ships. Similarly, when these sea denial operations are in take place, it can threaten all classes of warships, especially when it comes from China or Pakistan. First of all, if Indian Navy is able to operate this kind of a hypersonic glide missile, it would deny the Pakistan any chance for the ships to even leave Karachi or harbor. Forget about them threatening India. On the other hand, when Chinese ships, they enter into Indian Ocean region from Strait of Malacca, they can be threatened directly from ships which are deployed in Andaman and Nicobar coastline. Also, even if these missiles are deployed in Indian coastline, in the eastern seaboard or in the western seaboard, it would deny Chinese ships the access to at least 1500 kilometers from our coastline. Similarly, it would leave our aircraft carriers at disposal so that those can be used for offensive purposes, not just for defensive purposes. And it would force adversaries like Pakistan and like China to operate further from Indian shores, and in order to defend itself from India's hypersonic missile, it would also commit their significant existing resources in order to ensure missile defense against these hypersonic glide vehicles. Now, it also has a reputational benefit for India. India, after developing this missile, enters into a very elite club called as Hypersonic Club, and there are only a handful of countries like US, like China, like Russia who are able to operate one of such kinds of missiles. So this is why it is a game changer for India, for giving its Indian Navy a tactical edge, for strategic significance in order to ensure security in the Indian Ocean region, and for reputational purposes because it enables India to enter a club which is meant only for the most technologically advanced countries. Now let us understand what are other hypersonic technologies that are being developed currently by DRDO. If you need to understand, DRDO are working on two hypersonic technologies. One that we have already covered, that is hypersonic glide missiles. And another one, which is much more advanced in nature, are called as hypersonic cruise missiles. Now, what are the difference between these two? Let us try to understand it very quickly. Now, what you have to understand that the basic concepts of hypersonic glide vehicles or hypersonic glide missiles and hypersonic cruise missiles are very different. First of all, as I already told you, the hypersonic glide missile, it is initially boosted by a rocket engine. But in its penultimate stage, that is the hypersonic glide stage, it glides underpowered. On the other hand, the hypersonic cruise missiles are fully powered missiles which are kept powered throughout its entire trajectory right up to the time it strikes the target. Now, even the trajectory of both these missiles are very different. The hypersonic glide missile actually takes a quasi-ballistic trajectory, which is although very high up in the atmosphere, but inside Earth's atmosphere. On the other hand, the cruise missile, it takes a cruise type trajectory, which is much flatter as compared to the quasi-ballistic missiles. Now, the altitude of these two missiles are also very different. The hypersonic glide missiles actually flies higher up in the air as compared to the cruise missiles, and as far as propulsion is concerned, here is the most important distinction between these two missiles. The hypersonic glide missiles, the last stage, that is the glide stage, is actually not powered at all, right? So it has certain advantages, but it also has certain disadvantages. On the other hand, the cruise missile, it is powered by a engine which is known as scramjet engine, the supersonic ability ramjet engine. What is the scramjet engine? We'll understand, don't worry. Because it uses scramjet engine, the maneuverability of the hypersonic cruise missiles is very high because it is continuously powered in its entire trajectory, and therefore it is much harder to detect because it flies lower in the altitude and it has the ability to make powered maneuvers, which the hypersonic glide vehicle doesn't. Don't get me wrong, hypersonic glide vehicles are very advanced, but in comparison, hypersonic cruise missiles are much more complex, much more advanced in nature as compared to the glide missiles. The technological complexity required to design a hypersonic glide missile is high because you require adequate materials, guidance, as well as thermal control. But you have to understand, as it uses the scramjet engine, the hypersonic cruise missiles are very high when it comes to the technological complexity, and that is why it is still under development in most countries. On the other hand, the hypersonic glide vehicles is relatively a mature technology and therefore already deployed by some countries, including China as well as Russia. Understood? Now we were talking about scramjet engine. These hypersonic cruise missiles, you have to understand, they are powered by a special kind of engine known as scramjet engine, which allows it to maintain a powered flight throughout its trajectory and gives its ability to make changes in its course, that is called as maneuverability. So how is scramjet engine different from the usual ramjet engine? That is what we need to understand. Any flying object, when it is flying at a very high speed, it takes a very high amount of air at a very high speed. The engines which utilize this incoming air is called as a ramjet engine. Now the ramjet engine basically are engines which are breathing airs, and it compresses these engines at a very high pressure. When the air is compressed at a very high pressure and it is also coming at a very high speed, that is supersonic speed, it raises the temperature in the combustion chamber. So when you ignite the fuel, when you enter the fuel in this combustion chamber, it would automatically get ignited, and this combustion is what is powering a ramjet engine. But the degree of complexity increases when this ramjet engine increases the speed beyond the hypersonic speed, that is the speed of Mach 5. And this is where you need scramjet engines to perform, because ramjet engine, they are performing best at Mach 3 and they lose efficiency when they are flying at hypersonic speeds. So you need a special type of an engine which is a scramjet engine. So what is the difference between the two? Let us understand this with the help of a diagram. Now ramjet engine is where the missile is flowing and it takes or breathes air at a supersonic speed. Now to combustion this supersonic air, it compresses this at a subsonic airflow, and therefore this is the increased temperature and this increased pressure is what provides this chamber the ability to ignite the fuel when it is supplied. And this exhaust, when it is exhausted at a supersonic speed, is what is providing the ramjet engine the ability to keep the missile moving at a very high speed. What you need to understand, ramjet engine is relatively easier to design because it has no moving compressors. It requires an assisted takeoff, but once it gets to the desired result, it keeps the vehicle sustaining at a very high speed, that is a high speed of about Mach 3 speeds. But as I told you, it is relatively inefficient when it comes to dealing with hypersonic speeds. And this is where we require a scramjet engine. Scramjet engine, the complexity is because it takes incoming air at a hypersonic speed, but it slows down relatively to provide it a supersonic airflow, and this is where the combustion happens and the exhaust relatively is driven at a hypersonic speed, therefore enabling the flying object to fly at a much higher speed. Now the efficiency of these kind of an engines happen over the 5 Mach speed, that is the hypersonic speed, and this propulsion is what drives this hypersonic cruise missile at a very high speed, giving it an ability to sustain the flight and make relatively course adjustments called as maneuverability. But you need to understand the design of this engine is such complex, which adds to the complexity, and therefore only few countries has been able to develop it. Does it mean that India does not have the technology? You'd be surprised to hear what I'm about to say. Now DRDO is continuously making efforts to develop its own scramjet engine. partly because of the reason nobody is going to export it to us. Right. So, in a path breaking milestone which happened this year is that DRDO has been able to test its actively cooled scramjet fuel scale combustion for a time period of 12 minutes. It was under fire for 12 minutes and it was able to sustain the thrust, the pressure, the delivery that you require from a scramjet engine. And this was actually a developed version of an earlier design which took or which fired for about 1000 seconds. Now, earlier in the September 2020, you can remember DRDO demonstrated the technology of hypersonic air breathing, where it tested a hypersonic technology demonstration vehicle from the Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Launch Complex in the Wheeler Island off the coast of Odisha. So this means that yes, supersonic scramjet engines are a relatively more complex than the hypersonic glide vehicle technology which we are currently using, but that doesn't mean that DRDO is very far behind. DRDO is trying to bridge this gap, and it is only a matter of time when we'll have our own hypersonic cruise missile as well. Understood? So this was all for today's discussion. Now, a very important announcement. Right now, we are on this, January the 27th, and this very day is the last day when you can take admissions in our January morning batch, which are currently being offered at 77% off. Why 77% off, you may ask? Because this Republic Day was the 77th Republic Day. So we thought, why don't we share our happiness with you guys, and you can take admissions up till 12 midnight today at a discounted rate. Once you take the admission, do not forget to apply the code ATS Live, because this code gets you even more discounts as compared to what has been offered to other students. So you need to have an advantage of watching this video, right? The advantage is ATS Live. Okay. Now, please remember, these two batches are separate. One is for 2027 and another one is for 2028. The students who are looking to give exams in either of these years, please take the batches accordingly. And obviously, do not forget to use the code ATS Live. Now, there was a very similar question that appeared in the UPSC exam, prelims exam for 2023. I'd want you guys to solve this question, and please do let me know the correct answers in the comment section. And are you happy with this kind of a demonstration that we gave on Republic Day? Please do let me know. Is India making the much needed developments in the missile space? Because we already are one of the superpowers when it comes to missile technology, all thanks to Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Okay, so this is all for today's video. In case if you want to download the notes, this is where you can go. The channel's name is called as ATS Live, and do not forget to subscribe to the channel. So this is all from my side. Please have a very good night. We'll see each other again tomorrow.